Have you ever wondered where the salmon on your dinner plate actually comes from, or the sea bass at your favorite restaurant? For centuries, we've relied on brave fishermen casting their nets into the wild ocean. But what if I told you there's a revolution happening right under the surface, a change that's transforming how we get our seafood and could be worth billions? This is the story of aquaculture, and more specifically, the incredible world of floating sea cages. Imagine massive circular nets, sometimes the size of a football field, anchored just offshore in the deep blue sea. These aren't just empty nets. They're bustling underwater farms, home to hundreds of thousands of fish. This is modern mariculture, and it's a game changer. For decades, the global demand for seafood has been skyrocketing. Our oceans, however, are struggling. Overfishing has pushed many wild fish populations to the brink. It's a classic supply and demand problem, and floating cages are emerging as a powerful and controversial solution. So how do these underwater farms actually work? It all starts in a land-based hatchery. Here, fish eggs are carefully nurtured into tiny fry. Once they're strong enough, these juvenile fish are transported out to the floating cages. The cages themselves are marvels of engineering. They're typically made from high-density polyethylene pipes that form a floating collar with a deep, durable net suspended below. This design allows for a constant flow of fresh, oxygen-rich seawater, which is crucial for the health of the fish. Think of it as free-range farming, but for fish. They have space to swim and grow in a natural, albeit contained, environment. The day-to-day life on a fish farm is a high-tech operation. Automated feeding systems dispense specially formulated pellets packed with all the nutrients the fish need to grow big and healthy. Underwater cameras and sensors monitor the fish 24/7. Farm technicians can check on water temperature, oxygen levels, and even the behavior of the fish, all from a control room. This constant monitoring allows them to spot any potential issues, like disease, early on and act quickly. It's a far cry from the unpredictable nature of wild catch fishing. This level of control means farmers can produce a consistent, high-quality product year-round. Something that's nearly impossible with wild fish stocks that fluctuate with seasons and environmental conditions. The economic impact is staggering. The global aquaculture industry is already worth over $250 billion, and a huge chunk of that comes from mariculture using floating cages. Countries like Norway have built an economic empire on farmed salmon, exporting it all over the world. In places like Greece and Turkey, sea bass and sea bream farming in the Mediterranean has created thousands of jobs and revitalized coastal communities that were once solely dependent on traditional fishing or tourism. It's not just about big corporations either. In parts of Southeast Asia, smaller-scale cage farming provides a vital livelihood for countless families. This industry is literally fishing for billions, creating wealth and opportunity on a global scale. Now, let's talk about the types of fish you'll find in these cages. The undisputed king is the Atlantic salmon. Its rich flavor and fatty texture have made it a worldwide favorite. But the technology is adaptable. In the warmer waters of the Mediterranean, you'll find delicious sea bass and sea bream. In Asia, species like grouper, cobia, and barramundi are popular choices. Scientists and farmers are constantly experimenting with new species, looking for fish that thrive in farmed environments and meet consumer demand. The goal is to diversify the market and take even more pressure off of threatened wild species like bluefin tuna. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing. Fish farming, like any form of agriculture, has its environmental challenges. One of the biggest concerns is waste. Fish produce waste, and uneaten food can sink to the seabed below the cages. If not managed properly, this can impact the local marine ecosystem. Another issue is the potential for disease to spread within the dense fish populations, sometimes requiring the use of antibiotics. There's also the issue of escapes, where farmed fish can get out and potentially interbreed with wild populations, which can have genetic consequences. However, the industry is innovating at an incredible pace to address these problems. Modern farms are now strategically placed in areas with strong currents that naturally disperse waste. Better feed formulations mean less uneaten food. The use of vaccines has dramatically reduced the need for antibiotics in many parts of the industry, and cage technology is constantly improving to be more secure and prevent escapes. Some companies are even pioneering integrated multi-trophic aquaculture. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is simple and brilliant. They farm shellfish like mussels and seaweed alongside the fish. The shellfish and seaweed feed on the excess nutrients and waste from the fish, creating a cleaner system and producing additional valuable products. It's like creating a small, balanced ecosystem around the farm. So, what does the future hold? The technology is getting even more advanced. We're seeing the development of massive, submersible offshore platforms. These giant structures can be lowered deep beneath the surface to avoid storms and operate in the rougher waters of the open ocean, far from the coastline. This opens up vast new areas for farming and minimizes conflict with other coastal activities. These futuristic farms are often highly automated, sometimes controlled remotely by just a handful of technicians. It's a vision of farming that looks more like something out of a science fiction movie than a traditional farm. This move further offshore also helps to address many of the environmental concerns, as the deeper water and stronger currents are much better at handling and dispersing waste naturally. The debate between wild-caught and farm-raised will surely continue. Wild-caught fish has the romance of the open ocean, but it faces the serious challenge of sustainability. Farmed fish, particularly from well-managed farms using floating cages, offers a consistent, scalable, and increasingly sustainable alternative. As our global population continues to grow, our need for protein will only increase. We simply cannot expect our wild oceans to meet that demand alone. Floating cage aquaculture, for all its complexities, represents a critical piece of the puzzle for feeding the future. It's a story of human ingenuity meeting a fundamental human need. So the next time you see a beautiful fillet of salmon or sea bass at the market, take a moment to consider its journey. It may not have come from a lone fisherman on the high seas, but from a bustling, high-tech underwater city, a floating farm that is helping to shape the future of our food. This industry is not just about producing fish. It's about ensuring that generations to come can continue to enjoy the healthy and delicious seafood we love. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this dive into the world of aquaculture interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the technologies that are changing our world. See you next time.